And the presidential race heating up as we inch closer to the Iowa caucuses and New Hampshire primary. New Fox polls this morning out showing the latest standings. Donald Trump expanding his lead in Iowa now with 34% support, distancing himself from Senator Ted Cruz, who is now in second place with 23%. Senator Marco Rubio, the only other candidate with double-digit support, in third place with now 12%. Trump also in the lead in New Hampshire with 31% there. Ted Cruz in second with 14%. Rubio right behind him with 13%. Ohio Governor John Kasich in fourth with 9%. Governor Kasich has been spending much of the week in New Hampshire. He will be there through Tuesday as the majority of his competition campaigns in Iowa. Joining me right now is Ohio Governor John Kasich. Governor, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Maria. Good to be with you.
Congratulations on these latest polls. You've obviously been focused on New Hampshire. What's the strategy from your standpoint? Why is New Hampshire so important as all of your competitors are focused squarely on Iowa?
Well, we've now seen up here, Maria, I guess that would make 8 polls, and in 6 of them I'm running in second place. And there was a poll that came out of Boston among independents that essentially showed me tied among independents with Donald Trump. So we feel good about it. We've got a lot of momentum up here. And New Hampshire's 1.2 million people, and you can see them all. And by the end of today, I will have finished my 75th town hall meeting, which is really pretty staggering. And we have a tremendous ground game. Gordon Humphrey, the former U.S. Senator from here, says it's the best ground game he's seen in 40 years. So it's important for us to do well here. And everybody says, what's well? Well, well is where people like you on the 10th of February say, wow, Kasich, let's talk about him. And then we'd be off to South Carolina where we're already building. So it's important for us to do here. Our town halls are growing. We're having a lot of fun. And look, what I tell people is, yes, we have problems, but they all can be solved if we can just get the people who hold public office to be Americans before anything else.
How important are these big endorsements? I mean, Chris Christie getting a big endorsement in New Hampshire, the union leader there, Sarah Palin getting behind Donald Trump. How important are these big endorsements that make the headlines?
Well, I got 3 newspaper endorsements last Sunday, and I've received 2 more since. In fact, got one today from the Valley View News. I think these local endorsements from these papers does matter. I'm not so sure how much out-of-state endorsements mean, Maria. What's interesting about New Hampshire and what I love about it is they don't really care if you're rich, if you're famous. They don't care about any of that. You go in, they look at you, they take the measure of you. And frankly, when we get to Election Day, there's going to be probably 25% of the electorate who's going to walk in to vote who are still undecided. But I can see how much more serious it is today. I mean, we're only like 15 days out, but right after Christmas, you could see people beginning to take this more and more seriously and focusing. And I think that's a big reason why we've been rising up here.
Oh, for sure. People are focused on the issues. I want to talk to you about those issues in a moment. Governor, stay with us. A lot to talk about with you this morning in terms of the news events of the day. First of all, let's get a look at that into the state that holds the first primary in the nation, New Hampshire. Fox News senior correspondent Eric Shawn joins us now looking at that. Good morning to you, Eric.
Good morning, Maria, and good morning, everyone. The fate of Governor Kasich and his rivals in New Hampshire will, it turns out, not be in the hands of dedicated Republicans or Democrats there. It will be decided by the state's undeclared voters, and there are more of them than members of either of the 2 major parties.
Voters of Dixville Notch have voted, and their votes have been tallied.
From the moment after midnight when those first votes from tiny Dixville Notch roll in, the nation watches New Hampshire. But the state holds what some consider an open primary, meaning undeclared voters can cast ballots in either the Democratic or Republican contests. All they have to do is temporarily register as a Democrat or Republican at the polling place, then unregister the very second after they cast their ballot. New Hampshire's longtime serving Secretary of State is Bill Gardner. He says the fact that there are so many undeclared voters is all part of the state's New England independent Yankee spirit.
It gets wilder and wilder, and that last week and that last weekend. And people want to vote on Election Day. It's a tradition.
And there are 229,000 registered Democrats in the state, more than 260,000 registered Republicans. But look at this. The vast majority of voters are those undeclareds, more than 383,000 of them, or about 44%. And polls right now show more than one-third of the undeclared voters do favor Donald Trump. But a new Fox News poll shows of Republican voters, just over one quarter, or more than anyone else, would not vote for Trump in November.
Of the undeclareds, there's a fairly high percentage that are always one party or the other party. So what are the number of truly independents? It's much, much smaller than the number of undeclareds, much smaller.
Well, in 2012, 90% of the undeclared voters actually cast their ballots in the Republican primary. It certainly is a defiant streak that so well fits the official state motto, live free or die. Maria?
All right, Eric, thanks so much. Eric Schoen with the latest there. And we are talking with Ohio Governor John Kasich this morning. More with you, Governor. New reports this morning that Michael Bloomberg may very well enter the presidential race. What do you think about that?
Well, Michael's a smart guy. He was a good mayor of New York. He says he'll spend up to $1 billion. I mean, we'll see what kind of a message he has. But, you know, I like him. I think he'll make it all a lot more interesting. And I will tell you this. If he jumps in, of course, we'll be talking about a heck of a lot of issues, which are really important. So we'll see. And, you know, we just don't know. You know, in politics, Maria, anything can happen. And it always does.
Governor, what do you think is the most important issue for voters right now? I mean, I feel like since the last debate, it's gone back and forth between the economy and national security. What do you think voters care most about right now?
Oh, well, look, what they care most about always is the pocketbook. Now, national security, of course, has risen. I was with the auditor of Iowa, and she asked me that question. I said, what does your daddy do? She said, well, he's a hog farmer. I said, what do you think the first thing he does in the morning? She said, what do you think? I said, checks hog prices. So it's always about economic security. And Maria, the other thing that I believe is the biggest issue in our country today is never give up. I mean, you get knocked down, you got to pick yourself up and hope. You know, in my town halls, we have an absolute ball. I mean, people laugh. We have a lot of serious information out there. But a lot of people have left saying, you know, I didn't feel that good coming in, but I'm leaving and I'm more hopeful. And
yeah.
I'm really proud of that, because these problems can be fixed. You know it and I know it. It's not that hard to fix Social Security. Just have the will and the guts to get it done.
Yeah, we're going to be getting some important economic data upcoming this week. What do you think is most important in terms of truly moving the needle on creation of jobs, Governor, as well as growth, getting economic growth to higher levels?
Three things. Common sense regulations where you're not, you know, just hitting people over the head. Less taxes and more clarity. And finally, some fiscal discipline. It's always those three things, right? You don't want to overregulate. You want to reduce taxes, and you want to have, like, you know, sanity when it comes to fiscal policy. Then the ground is not moving under the feet of the entrepreneurs. And you know, you've been a great reporter on all of this, and you know that when companies or investors, people, entrepreneurs are nervous, they sit on their wallet.
Right.
We can't have that anymore. And all three of those things are what exists in America today. Clean that up, and you're going to see economic growth.
And then there's national security. The Obama administration is now authorizing airstrikes against ISIS in Afghanistan. Defense Secretary Ash Carter announcing that the U.S. and 6 other countries have agreed to intensify the fight in Iraq and Syria as well. What is your plan to take down ISIS?
Well, look, I just think they're moving piecemeal, and it's not going to get the job done. I mean, we're going to have a coalition just like we had when we fought Saddam Hussein, with both Arabs and West going and taking care of this. And we have to be both in the air and on the ground. And as we settle it down, we have to turn it over to the regional powers. And I predict you, Maria, the map of the world is going to look much different by the time things sort of settle down here. You know, the Westerners put together maps where the people didn't fit together, and you're going to see a redrawing. I think it's just inevitable. We'll see. But I think it's just too piecemeal, and we're going to have to, you know, we're going to have to move quickly after we have a new president, especially if I happen to be that president.
Governor, we'll be watching. Thanks so much. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks, Maria. Thank you. You did a great job at the debate.
Thank you so much, Governor. Appreciate that.